What is going on, guys? 2.0 here, and in today's video I've got some great news for those players who, like myself, love spending time in the Heroic Strike playlist. So with the recent June update, Heroic Strikes now have active modifiers attached to them, and a lot of players, including myself, were dreading the day where Trickle and Exposure and modifiers like that would come up, as these tend to take the fun away from the activity that you're doing. So I myself do put a lot of time in the Heroic Strike playlist throughout the week, as I'm sure many other people do as well, and having to deal with Trickle all week would pretty much make the playlist unplayable, as it just wouldn't be an enjoyable experience. But Bungie has given us an update on this which is going to make a lot of people very happy. So they did actually update the patch notes with the new information, and so the following screenshots are pulled directly from there. So this is Bungie's exact wording. So you can see at the top there, it does say the missing notes were added in on the 20th of June, so that's yesterday as I make this video, and we have the Heroic Strikes now include a randomly selected group of 3 modifiers. One modifier will be applied from each of the following lists. So we have Group 1, which is Small Arms, Specialist, Brawler and Catapult. All modifiers in Group 1 will help us out and make things easier. Obviously, we will benefit from Small Arms and Specialist the most, especially for boss damage, but all 4 that could be pulled from Group 1 are positive modifiers, meaning that they will be helping us out. Group 2 is Airborne, Solar Burn, Arc Burn, and finally Void Burn, so all the burns as well as Airborne. Again, mostly positive modifiers. Whenever there is a burn, it can make things a little trickier, especially say Arc Burn in the Saber Strike, as a lot of enemies do arc damage there, but at least we can go in with those elemental weapons and subclasses, which make us do a lot more damage as well. With Arc Burn being one of last week's modifiers, I really enjoyed going in with the Blade Dancer, as I had never really had much time using Blade Dancer in strikes. In year 1 I always went with Gunslinger, and then in year 2 I've always gone with Night Stalker, and so being able to use the Blade Dancer in strikes and still be effective because of Arc Burn as well as the recent PvE buffs was really enjoyable. So again, the modifiers in Group 2 overall do seem very positive. And then finally we have Group 3, which is Juggler, Commander, Ironclad, Exposure, Chaff and Angry. So these are all modifiers that will make things more difficult for us, which isn't always a bad thing. The Heroic Strikes have been locked at 260 recommended light level for several months and will likely remain that way until the Rise of Iron is released. So in my opinion, they did need to be made a little bit more difficult. But you may have noticed Trickle is not on the list anywhere, and the final line of text in this updated post says Trickle will not be applied to Heroic Strikes. I think everyone will agree this is great news, as Trickle does suck the fun out of every encounter. And so to know for sure that Trickle will never be in the rotation for the modifiers on one of my favourite things to do currently in Destiny is great news. We do have Exposure in Group 3, but 1, there are 6 different modifiers in Group 3, so Exposure won't be coming up too often, and then 2, Exposure isn't as bad as a lot of people seem to make it out to be. Exposure was actually one of the modifiers on the recent Omnigul Nightfall Strike, where a lot of people farmed for a good role on the Grasp of Malak, but most people that I run it with didn't even realise that Exposure was even on, so really it isn't that bad. So to recap, 1 modifier will be pulled from each group every single week, so that's 3 modifiers along with the Heroic modifier that has always been attached to the Heroic Strikes. So for example, we could have Specialist, Void Burn and Angry, or Small Arms, Arc Burn and Ironclad, which that in itself would be so fun. Zarlos everywhere, we could just tear through the strikes really quickly. But for this week's we have Heroic obviously, and then we have Arc Burn, Exposure and Catapult, so it should be a pretty good time this week. Let me know down below in the comments how you feel about the way the Heroic Strike playlist now work. But that is going to bring us to the end of the video, guys, so if you did enjoy it, please leave a like, as it really does help the channel out. Subscribe if you're new around here, as I upload daily Destiny videos, and as always, thanks for watching and I will see you guys on the next one.